On the Seder night, we are expected to talk about three things: Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. Pesach once was a sacrifice. Now we no longer have sacrifices. Pesach stands for our relationship with God. He passed over our homes and our houses in Egypt. So it reminds us of our spiritual heritage and how important it is in our lives today. Then we have to talk about matzah, the bread of poverty and the bread of affliction. We need food to survive. Sometimes we are in the unfortunate position of having to struggle to get our food, and so we have to appreciate how fortunate we are when we do have enough to eat. But then there is maror. Maror reminds us that throughout history we've had difficult times, and even today life is tough, and very often we suffer in one way or another. And therefore, all these three themes are themes that we are invited to talk about on Pesach. And to reinforce this, the rabbis say that it's enough if you just say, Otanu hotzi misham, that actually God brought us out from there. We are today no longer where we once were. We've been able to find a new situation, a fortunate situation, if you like, because we ourselves have lived through a period of peace and well-being that very few previous generations ever did. In addition to that, we're told that chayav adam lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. Everybody has to imagine what it was like coming out of Egypt. So we don't just have to imagine what it was like coming out of Egypt. We can imagine what it was like coming out of Iran, coming out of Iraq, coming out of Europe, coming out of all the places where we have been oppressed. And what it's like now to feel, as many of us do, that anti-Semitism is coming back again and we're under pressure and hatred is around us wherever we are. And therefore, the Seder encourages us to ask questions. We start with the 4 questions, 4 according to the Babylonian Talmud, 3 according to the Yerushalmi Talmud. But the Gemara itself says that if you ask any kind of question, you're fulfilling your obligation, anything about the Seder night. The Haggadah also tells us there are 4 kinds of sons, 4 kinds of questions. There's the questioner who is committed and just wants to know more. There's a questioner who's opposed, antagonistic, negative, and wants to know why the heck he should or she should bother at all. You have the person who knows he doesn't know anything and wants more information. And you have the person who doesn't even know he doesn't know anything. And in all these, we have to give answers, and they may fall into different categories. One kind of answer will be Arami Ovei Davi, that once we were idol worshippers, that we are surrounded by people who worship the wrong things, money, ambition, politics, whereas we try to worship the spiritual things. In addition to that, we have the idea that we were originally slaves, which means we were in a society where we were oppressed and suppressed. But instead of the fact that most people then blame others, we just got on with the business of trying to make something of our lives and for ourselves. So the answers either fall into the religious category, how we've developed spiritually, or nationally, how as a nation we've managed to survive despite everything that's been thrown at us. In other words, there are different kind of experiences, different kind of answers, and we have to find a way of discussing them. It's not enough just to go through the routine of the Seder night. For it to be a meaningful experience, we have to challenge ourselves, challenge our position amongst our people, our relationship to God, our relationship to the material world, and our relationship to other people round about us. So the questioning, the challenging, the imagining, almost the play acting are all essential parts of the Seder. So it's not enough just to say the words. You've got to argue and discuss. And that's why the Haggadah also talks about those rabbis who knew almost everything there was to know, but went on discussing throughout the night, because their circumstances were different. They were under Roman oppression as opposed to Egyptian oppression, just as we might be under different kinds of tension and pressure. So each generation is different, each situation is different, and on Pesach we have to personalize this. We have to ask ourselves, where am I today as a person and as a Jew? And the food that we eat and we drink reminds us of how fortunate we are to have it, but at the same time we realize and we know that if we don't make an effort to preserve it, it can all be lost. Happy Pesach, Chag Sameach.